Buenos días, soy Daniel Villegas, director general de LISA Institute. Hoy tenemos una masterclass especial, diferente. Y antes de presentar al ponente que nos acompaña en el día de hoy, voy a sugeriros que imaginéis por un momento que estamos en verano del 1999, en pleno corazón de los Balcanes, cuando la OTAN tomó decisiones estratégicas que cambiaron el curso de la historia. Hoy, casi 26 años después, seguimos usando aquellas mismas lecciones para anticipar conflictos futuros. Pero, ¿cómo ha evolucionado ese proceso de prospectiva estratégica hasta hoy? Lo veremos de la mano de uno de sus artífices, el doctor Mehmet Ginatzi. El doctor Ginatzi es un futurista visionario y un firme defensor de la integración de la prospectiva estratégica en la toma de decisiones, ya sea en gobiernos, organizaciones internacionales o incluso en el sector privado. Posee un doctorado en estudios internacionales cuya tesis se centró en Rusia, Europa y Asia Central, seguridad energética y política de oleoductos, algo totalmente de radiante actualidad. Ha prestado servicio tanto a nivel estratégico como operativo en la OTAN y en cuarteles nacionales, participando en operaciones en los Balcanes, el Mediterráneo y Afganistán, así como en programas de la Alianza como Partnership for Peace and Mediterranean Dialogue. Entre sus principales responsabilidades estuvieron el diseño de estrategias a largo plazo, la prospectiva y la evaluación de campañas. Asimismo, sirvió en el cuartel general de la Fuerza Internacional de Asistencia para la Seguridad, los headquarters de ISAF, donde tuvo la oportunidad de colaborar con diversos expertos, incluidos asesores de ministros afganos y consejeros especiales de representantes de la comunidad internacional. En 2010 se incorporó al Allied Command Transformation, más conocido como ACT o ACT. Su área de especialización abarca la prospectiva estratégica, el horizon scanning y la seguridad energética. Fue líder de equipo en la elaboración de los informes Strategic Foresight Analysis de 2013, 2015 y 2017. Es un entusiasta promotor de soluciones innovadoras, ha desarrollado proyectos con Microsoft, con Google, destinados a integrar inteligencia artificial, aprendizaje automático y análisis de Big Data en el proceso de prospectiva. De eso hablaremos a continuación. Además, ha publicado el documento Food for Thought, el panorama de la seguridad global post-COVID-19, el informe regional Perspectives sobre Rusia y participa en la elaboración de los informes de Regional Perspective sobre el Ártico y el Indo-Pacífico. Desempeñó un papel destacado en la redacción de un informe que redactamos conjuntamente en un proyecto que participó LISA Institute, que participó también Jordi Serra, y que consistía en definir un manual para llevar a cabo análisis estratégico y prospectivo en el contexto de la OTAN, donde definimos una serie de metodologías, de técnicas, de cuándo usarlas, de cómo combinar estas técnicas de la forma más adecuada para que cualquier analista pudiese beneficiarse de estas lecciones aprendidas y de este manual que confeccionamos entre diferentes países y donde también Mehmet tuvo un papel fundamental. Dicho esto, Mehmet, welcome. It's a pleasure to being with you here again and to work together.
Thank you very much. Actually, I would like to thank you giving the opportunity to share our knowledge with you and with students. I also would like to thank you to participation in the SAS 154 NATO project to develop a handbook for strategic foresight analysis. So that was a great contribution. So this is a kind of opportunity for us to pay back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehmet. Para aquellos que no entendáis el inglés de forma fluida, os recomendamos que hagáis clic en el menú inferior, donde veréis una pestaña de subtítulos y allí podréis escoger directamente un botón que pone traducción. Podéis escoger el idioma de los subtítulos para que, independientemente del idioma que estemos hablando, podáis leer en vuestro idioma nativo con el que estéis más cómodos. Podéis también darle a configuración y decidir el tamaño y otras configuraciones. Os recomendamos hacerlo para quedaros con toda la esencia de lo que hablaremos a continuación. Como veis, también me acompaña Jordi Serra, como ya le conocéis, director del área de prospectiva y estrategia del LISA Institute y director del máster profesional de analista estratégico y prospectivo, en el que esta masterclass es parte de estas sesiones que hacemos en abierto para socializar el conocimiento en materia de prospectiva y estrategia y para acercarlo a tantas personas como vosotros que os interesa y que lo necesitáis a nivel profesional. Antes de comenzar con unas preguntas que tenemos previstas para Mehmet, simplemente recordar que el máster aún tiene algunas plazas abiertas para aquellos que os interese inscribiros. Recordaros que es un máster online, interactivo, inmersivo, en el que el 100% de los profesores, al igual que Mehmet, son profesionales en activo, que hablan desde la experiencia, que hablan con conocimiento de causa, que han aplicado la estrategia y la prospectiva en diferentes entornos, sector público, sector privado, a nivel tanto de análisis como de alta dirección o gestión, tanto en empresas de servicios como en cliente final y también en organismos internacionales, lo cual lo convierte sin ningún género de dudas en un máster dotadísimo de talento a nivel docente y sobre todo con una diversidad que permite comprender todas las aristas que tiene la prospectiva y todas sus posibles aplicaciones, ¿no? O por lo menos la mayoría, para que los alumnos salgáis con un pozo, con un marchamo de su aplicación a nivel profesional, que eso es lo que buscamos, profesionalizaros en el ámbito del análisis estratégico y prospectivo, con realidades, con capacidades de poder implementarla en vuestros respectivos trabajos y también impulsar vuestra trayectoria profesional. Aquellos que estéis interesados, podéis hacer clic en el enlace que compartimos en el chat y en la cajita de descripción de esta sesión. Si tenéis alguna consulta, podemos tratarla posteriormente. So, we will change to English to start
So I can start understanding.
Exactly. Sorry for that. It's because
No worries.
our audience is mainly for now in Spanish. Maybe in the future it's more hybrid, but for now it's mainly in Spanish. And as we told you, we were introducing yourself and explaining some general information about the master degree that we will talking about. So our first question, Mehmet, for you is what do you think about the importance of having strategic foresight capabilities in organizations, no matter if they are public or private? What's the importance, in your opinion, of having these capabilities inside the organization?
Yeah. First, let me say, start with a disclaimer. The views expressed here does not represent NATO or Allied Command Transformation. They are belongs to mine. Although I led the SFA development and everything else, it's not an official position of NATO or ACT. Why international organizations, governments, big companies need strategic foresight or foresight in this regard? Everybody would like to learn tomorrow or next week or a month. I mean, if you are a broker in Wall Street, the first thing you check your Twitter or X account, whether President Trump released that tweet or what's going to happen to Tesla or what's going to happen to stock, etc. Everybody worries about, I'm just looking at Tesla is down 6.72% since this morning. So everybody would like to learn about tomorrow. But how can we learn next year, 5 years, 10 years? Because there are investments, for example, for NATO, we would like to buy aircraft, F-35. You can develop an F-35 in 10 years, 15 years, or you can develop a ship, build a ship, like in a few years. But what type of technologies you will put into a ship? It differs and requires a lot of research and development. So you are going to make an investment in some place that actually will be effective in 2 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time. And before making this investment decision, you need to understand how you get the key elements of the key trends of the future. This could be geopolitical, this could be demographic, this could be environmental, this could be technological, and everything else. So in development of AI, for example, is a game changer. So everybody would like to learn that how AI will shape the future of technology or future of the work. For example, we are having, instead of having a face-to-face meeting in somewhere, either in Spain or South America, we're just talking online. So how could we imagine this 10 years ago? Maybe less. But people made investment to Zoom, for example, a capability. They are billionaires now. So companies, international organizations, or governments, they try to understand future challenges and opportunities. Like not always the bad thing, but also you look for opportunities. And then you need to develop a systemic, scientific understanding of the future using strategic foresight. This is a kind of tool, gives you not 100% correct, not, oh, we're trying to predict this is going to happen. Even the weatherman says that, hey, it's going to rain tomorrow, and 50% they get it wrong. So we try not to predict, but also at the same time, we would like to give a scientific advice to the leadership to make a difference. A historical example is Shell. Shell, before the collapse of the Soviet Union, they actually looked at what if Soviet Union collapses? And then they developed scenarios. They were the only company legally, financially, and also with the foundational infrastructure to go into Soviet Union after Russia and then make investment. So they made billions of dollars. So whether you are in a school teacher or whether you are a government official, whatever you are going to make a decision in the future, you need to understand how future would like to evolve in your respective area. That might give you a kind of understanding. So that's why the governments, international organizations need strategic foresight.
Mehmet, let me ask you a question that I have been asking to all the participants in this masterclass, is how did you discover or how did you arrive to foresight?
Yeah. Okay. What happened is in NATO, I arrived at this HQ headquarters in 2010. In 2011, our leadership come back and then said, we are making, we are the custodian of NATO defense planning process. A process actually allows nations and advise them to make defense investment. We had a short-term plan, making investment already underway, to buying ships, to buying aircraft, to making tanks, etc., or building ammunition. But this 0 to 6 years period was confirmed. But we have not, and we didn't have the understanding of midterm and mostly the long term. So midterm was 6 years to 15 years, and then we didn't have any understanding of 15 years plus. So we say how we can do this, how we can better understand the future. And then strategic foresight appeared in our radar. Okay, this is the way. And then we looked at companies. We contacted Shell, we contacted Atlantic Council, we contacted U.S. National Intelligence Cell. So these government organizations, think tanks, academia, or institutions, companies like BP produces a report. Always they are trying to predict what will be the future of energy demand. Because if you put money for exploration without an energy demand, you will be just wasting money. So the oil prices go down, then it will be a huge problem. So that's why we hit the foresight as a systemic tool to explore the future.
Thank you.
One last question before sharing your presentation that maybe I'm sure it's interesting for a lot of students that we have in this master degree. What do you think about the key skills professionals need to apply strategic foresight in your experience?
Yeah, what's I mean, if I were the boss, actually we're going to hire like 2 people now. Is the process is ongoing? Is the most important element I would look at, and we're looking at the person doing foresight should be a critical thinker. It's the critical thinking skills should be improved. What does it mean? I mean, critical thinker, it's something like that. It's actually looking at the large data set, a kind of the data set, and then trying to get this data set into his insight. So it should have an analysis skill. So that's, I think, the other element. And as part of critical thinking, it should be he or she should be able to do research. So identify what type of research that they could explore. And the most critical element, we also see the synthesizing data, because today is a problem itself getting the large data sets. So from the beginning, the large data set, the analytical synthesizing skill, and also you need to have a problem solving skill. I mean, it's just like because we are dealing with complex problems, and then the problem solving skills starts with problem definition. Of the problem definition, do a stakeholder analysis, and then select, that we work together, is the number of options that strategic foresight tools give you, from backcasting, the future wheel, or scenario development, and then you select one of them, and then you come up with a kind of recommendation. It's that the leadership understand. So sometimes people come back like a 250-page report, a strategic foresight report. This looks like a book, but you need to be concise enough, but also give insights sufficient to decision makers that they can make decision today, and then it will help us to shape the future. So the core element here is the core idea that the students need to understand is whatever you do, you are shaping the future. Actually making decisions today, you are shaping your future, you are shaping your organization's future, you are shaping your country's future, whatever area that you are working. So we are also trying to help NATO through nations help shape the future. So that's, I think, the critical element.
Critical,
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, sure. Critical and huge responsibility. The
Exactly.
ones that can anticipate or approximate to understand some scenarios, future scenarios, is huge responsibility, especially those who are next to decision makers, because they are shaping the view of the decision maker and the context and framework that the decision maker is gonna use to make decisions. No, that's huge responsibility.
Yeah, just a most recent example. I mean, in the last 2-3 years, we have seen drones are playing they become a game changer in the battlefield, in all other areas that we see, or area of space. So we have been advocating, for example, the using unmanned and robotic systems for ages. And then we were talking about we need to invest, and then NATO have some capabilities, but also our adversaries have similar capabilities. And then you see today everything, it's the emerging disruptive technologies are reflected in some other technologies. So we, as a foresight professionals, we look at not only one technology, but also how these technologies converge together. That is the either the biggest challenge or biggest opportunity. If you look at only one technology, that you will be missing many other parts. For example, biotechnology combined with AI. I've seen one of the students talking about digital twins. Digital twins technology is, for example, with blockchain, AI, etc., is going to be a game changer. So how these technologies converge and come together and then create something that novel that actually could be exploited. That's, I think, is one of the key elements.
Very interesting. So if you want, we can start with the presentation.
Sure.
And after it, we will ask you some questions our students have sent us, and we can debate about it with Jordi, which would be very interesting. So if you like, we can start.
Yeah, let's move to next slide, please. This is a quote that I like very much. It's basically, everybody says, I know this. Yeah, okay. You may think that you know this, but you may not understand it. So knowing is different than understanding. And our way is we try to create an understanding. This is very important. It's going to be more important in the future because we are receiving a huge amount of information that a human mind cannot cope with. Because today, the technologies like ChatGPT, I'll talk a little bit about our experience with Google and Microsoft. We started looking for something, exact same capability in 2017. We were like, we said, okay, we have large data. How are we going to do this? Because everybody says we know this. Yeah, we know. For example, there are articles available on Russia, maybe hundreds of thousands. But a human being cannot read all of them. So we wanted to get an understanding. So understanding may be in future like a human machine thing. It's maybe in 10 years' time, it will be only a machine thing, but we need to create understanding. I think this is the one that I would like to spend some time. Okay, next slide, please. I talk a little bit about that, but why do we need strategic foresight? That I will talk, and then I will go in detail in our methodology, how we used AI and wargaming, and what are the key lessons over time, some of the key points from our recent report. And there is a draft report. Now we are just like, our team is reviewing in a separate location. And then we'll take questions and answers. Next slide, please. Change is happening. The foresight is actually, the key element is understanding the change. The change could be linear and exponential. So in the top, on the left-hand side, top screen, you are seeing the auto production. At the top, you will see China with almost 30 million cars produced in China in 2024. It's like, if you put the rest of the world, it's like 3 times more the United States producing. But if we look back on the bottom left slide, if you look back China, is China producing like less than 1 million in 25 years ago? Around 1 million or something. So this is actually, in historical terms, an exponential change. So if you don't understand this exponential change, you will have trouble like German auto industry. I haven't put the German auto industry. They have losing exports 4.5%, 4.7% over the last few years. So what does it mean? Now, if you are looking for the auto industry or any other industry, you need to look back to past and then you need to look at to the future, because if you don't understand the exponential change, you will have a huge risk. So another big example that I put here is the GDP growth and then how this will be affected in like 2050. What will be the key countries? What will be the others producing? So it's the, if you look at the purchase power parity terms, is PPP, is basically China is going to be #1 economy in 2050. So whatever happening now, it's, you need to look at, okay, this is a kind of a projection over the long term. While the European share is going to decrease to 9%. So what does it mean? That means that the China is going to have a lot of say in global affairs. So we try to understand this and then how this is gonna affect and shape the environment, from trade to the migration, from health issues to all other time. Next slide, please. So we look at the from documents that I said, past documents, because if you would like to understand today, you need to look at, and good analysis of the past is definitely required. So on the left side that you see the President Trump's first term national security strategy. They talk about the great power competition. So the first time they said, okay, we are in a competition with China. Now, during first term, Donald Trump introduced tariffs to China, but as they actually not remain the same, but softened a little bit over time. But you will see that recently, there's a huge change. So there are things happening, like the Foreign Affairs put it in 2022. It's like in 10 days or 10 weeks, it's happening like the things could happen in a decade. Next slide. So what does it mean? The key element here is this. Today we are living a rules-based international order, or like a transitioning order. So we, for us as the political military organization, is the most critical element is the maintenance of rules-based international order. But in our recent report in SFA 2023, we say that international order is transitioning. So what's happening in transition? It's actually is moving from a unipolar world to a multipolar world. What does it mean? What would be the effect of multipolar world? We see more competition between United States, Russia, and China. You may ask Europe's role. I think we can discuss it in why. I'm not saying that Europe is not part of the great power competition. Europe is an economic power, but it's not a kind of great power with the military capabilities. So this competition to challenge rules-based international order has external effects, but also at the same time internal challenges. So President Trump's tariffs to Europe and other members of the European Union and NATO alliance is actually bringing a kind of internal pressure to the rules-based international order. So this transition period that all of us should be very careful is always volatile, always dangerous, with the wars and everything else, and then that could create a big challenge. So how are we gonna put this into perspective of strategic foresight? How we can understand this? We look at the past, we understand a little bit today, and then how we're going to project that. Go, please, next slide. So all our team members go to Houston University for a week course, and some of us go to Turku, University of Turku, Finland, so that they provide a week Strategic Foresight course. So they provide a framework. Actually, as you look into the bottom left-hand side, the beginning, you need to understand the past. Past help you to inform today, and then you start looking at the cone of possibilities. Well, you can identify domains, you can make the current assessment, and then you start scanning trends and everything else. What is a trend? Is a simple definition. Is trend something that is changing either in one direction or other? It could be remain the same, but trend is actually you are looking at a change more than one point. Then it's and you should have data point, either whether it could be qualitative or quantitative, but you need a data point. And then you need to understand drivers, how these drivers are making the change. And then you create a kind of baseline. Baseline future gives you an idea, and then you look at the alternatives. You have alternative futures, and then you try to understand the implications, what the implications are, and then you try to create an understanding of the implications. In NATO, we spend time on trends, but we spend more time on implications, because these implications converge together and create an instability. So that's what we try to look into, because we need to take necessary steps to prevent this instability if we can shape the environment, or if this instability or a conflict emerged or happened, then we need to take action. So how can we take proper action to mitigate the problems caused by instability? Next slide. We also work with my friend Dr. Joseph Warus. That is he is looking at the future is more a kind of baseline, the projected future, and then there are some plausible, probable futures, and then like there are futures that you prefer. So if you think that you want to shape your future, you need to identify your preferred future, and then to take necessary steps, make investment, make research and development, make commitment, develop your human capacity, and all kind of stuff that actually requires. And then there are possible futures, and we call it like the thinking the thing impossible, like the proposal future. So that's like an imagining something that, oh, this is not going to happen. And an example of this, before the Twin Tower attack by terrorists in 9/11, in one of the institute, they were looking at scenarios, and one of the scenarios was actually is a plane hitting Twin Towers. And then they said, oh, this is not going to happen. So you need to take into account even things that you think that may not happen, or that's not going to happen if you think. Because to be honest with you, in 2010, 2011, when we started working on it, we created 3 buckets. The things that likely to happen, the things is might happen. We say these are the things unthinkable. Unthinkable included NATO-Russia war. Today, NATO-Russia war is possible. So that is actually is how the change is affecting in 10 years, 15 years time. So another area that we fail to really capture, or maybe it was our optimism bias. You know, as an analyst, you need to avoid bias. It's one of the key element. Is optimism bias. Is we were hoping Middle East and North Africa will be more democratic, more stable during Arab Spring. And then we thought that the governments will come to power. They will try to duplicate a kind of democratic institutions and everything else. Actually, it didn't work. Even some European countries are either moving to the right wing or even reversing the democracy. And then so it's coming to becoming to a challenge. So how we reflect all this methodology into our NATO work. Next slide, please. Okay, I mentioned a little bit about this. You know, we need to understand future security environment. So we need to understand how our existing platforms, our existing capabilities are going to meet the future force. So at the top, you see a bridge. Now we are looking at today, and then we're also looking at the future. How this today and future security environment will create a bridge. So that is actually require an understanding of the future security environment. This is why we do strategic foresight. This is why we do a study on future operating environment. So we look at from current force, and then we look at the funded force. What does it mean, current force? Current force, if today we go to war in like 2 years' time, that we have whatever we have. We go to war, we use whatever the aircraft we have, whatever the ships we have, because you can't produce like F-35 like thousands, like they did produce aircraft in World War II. World War II, they could produce like 15,000 aircraft a year. So this is not possible today with the advanced technologies and everything else. So you have a funded force. You're looking at from now and 10 years, you have very little opportunity to challenge. And then you need the future force. So future force, the characteristics of future force needs to be developed by an understanding of the future security environment through foresight, an understanding of future operating environment. Next slide, please. So this is our legacy methodology. Actually, we spent a lot of time in creating this methodology. We developed this process into 3 main chunks. The first one is input. Input includes the research phase and looking into the national studies, international organizations, like whatever is available in media, social media, scientific studies, think tanks, etc. produce, and we look at what are the commonalities, what are things they see. Okay, this is going to be most important thing in 10 years' time, or what are the differences? Somebody is talking about a totally new technology, and then the hundreds year, the decade-old problem that creating the fusion, that is how you can produce or use hydrogen more efficiently for energy creation, etc., using nuclear energy without any challenge. So we look at all this, looking at the keyword search, etc. This also the difficulty of input phase pushed us to work with AI, because you need AI actually to deal with the large data. The second part is the development process. So when you do your homework and then complete your research, you identify trends and implications, but also you need to develop scenarios, how these trends and implications will interact. And then we do workshops. Actually, we try to create a community to make sure that they validate our findings. In one occasion, we had in technology part more than 25 PhDs in different human enhancements, to hypersonic, to biotechnology, AI, etc. And my colleague came to me and said, hey, I have 25 PhDs in the room. How I'm going to tell them what to do? I said, let them do the discussion. So a kind of validation of our findings. So you can call that our analysts are approaching issues are more generalist perspective, but also you need expertise, in-depth information from nations or research institutes. And then we start writing. So writing is a painful process because you need to get different views, different perspectives, and also you need to keep your objectivity. You need to keep away from bias and everything else. When you produce the first draft, so the output phase is also, it could be as painful as possible. When we produce initial draft, we circulate it to our colleagues, and then we try to get their inputs to make sure that they really part of the project. And then we produce coordinated draft and send it out to nations and think tanks, academia. And then we get their inputs, and we used to allocate a different team for adjudication. Adjudication is one of the most important elements because looking at Russia, Spain has a different perspective than Poland. So as part of the alliance, Spain may say, yeah, okay, I see Russia is a problem, but not that much. But when you go to Poland, they say, hey, they're going to attack us tomorrow. So how you can bring together two different perspectives and then make it a shared perspective for NATO. That actually is one of our key challenge. So we try to get this process with talking to nations, if necessary, face to face, but try to make it happen. But all this process takes a lot of time. We said how we can make it faster, and then how we can make it robust. And then our search for AI started. Next slide, please. We started this AI, let's say, adventure. It was 2017, 2018. And we talked to IBM, Microsoft, Lockheed Martin, Fraunhofer Institute, Airbus. I mean, from startups to the large companies large corporations doing AI. We reached out to Apple. They didn't come back. But like the big industry companies like Booz & Allen, etc., we talk all of them, more than 20. And that was a big problem for us at that time. The problem was how you can translate your requirement into the language to data scientists understand. So it's a challenge. Like today, it's a challenge when you work with ChatGPT. Everybody says, okay, you need to improve your prompt writing. You know, it's when you put prompts, so you need to improve that. So we went to an organization and we saw Microsoft say, we help you to explore your problem free of charge. So we start working with Microsoft, and then we developed this Microsoft Enriched Search Experience. We develop a tool, can do from document search to summarization. For example, giving you insights, looking at the people, capturing their sentiments, etc., and then doing trend analysis and helping scenario development. So this capability, they develop, they actually talk to us, and then they said, you can get this point. Next slide. in NATO, you have to go for international process to get the contract done. So we went out and Microsoft competed, but Microsoft didn't get the contract. Google did. So, and then we start working with, we paid Google 3 years, and Google come back to machine learning and all platforms that I don't know, you're familiar with Gemini. It's like initial idea of Gemini. So that's kind of stuff that we started. The funny thing is, when we were working with Google, Microsoft said that we would like to continue with you free of charge. So Microsoft worked with us, developed the tool that I showed you, is basically free of charge for 3 years. And then we were using their capability even when COVID-19 hit. We gave our tools to White House to help them to explore the to large amount of data. The U.S. Space Command asked whether we can give it to them, and then they give it to White House and everything else. So it was a NATO tool, and then we just said, okay, we are happy to share. So the tool has been used. Next slide, please. How much time do I have?
Do you have, Mehmet, around 15, 20 minutes?
Okay, 15 minutes, so I can go a little detail, so that's good. Okay. Now, we continued with working with Google. As you see on the left-hand side, we uploaded 87,000 documents related with Russia. So, and then we ask, these are the things, and then we ask specific questions, like what will happen in the Arctic, what's going to happen, and so on. And Google, at that time, talking now is 2020, developed a scenario tool you see on the right-hand side of the screen. Left-hand side, you see the trends, etc., who wrote which article, and so on. Right-hand side is the scenario that at that time, our question was based on the data between certain time frame. For example, the articles written between 1990 and 2000, articles written between 2000 and 2010, and articles written between 2010 and 2020. So we divided into 3 groups and then say how over time the possibility of, for example, United States is conducting a freedom of navigation operation in the Arctic. So this required a kind of participation, human experts. So the tool come back to us and then say, would you like to look into these items, selects only 5 of them or 6 of them, and then weight them. And then it actually gave, you see in the left first, the red is longer than the green. And then over time the green gets longer and longer. So this US conducting freedom of navigation operation, the possibility doing this in 2040 is increased based on the recent documents. So the tool gives you a trajectory. Looking at today's what's happening, so that is actually a potential to analyze the future. I don't know, have you seen any movie that the Minority Report? It's the Tom Cruise plays as an actor. And then they actually establish a police force to prevent crime before it happened, and then captures the potential criminals and then put them into jail for a shorter time. So the prevent people. So actually this predictive analysis in my view, is going to evolve over the next maybe 10, 15 years' time. We may not see the minority report, but we will see a lot of changes in how this is going to happen. So these are the two tools that we use AI. Today, we use multiple platforms. Like if we use feature platforms, we use preempt in terms of like they are using AI. And some of our friends are using ChatGPT. But also our headquarters is developing our own large language models. So the AI is in use. So that's all I can say. Next slide, please. So in addition to AI, we actually wanted to use human imagination. And to avoid any political sensitivity, we do a matrix war game to understand how United States, China, UN, NATO, EU, and Russia, it's like just play and interact with each other. So we looked at how situation lead them or push them to cooperate in 2045. Is there any potential for cooperation? And some of our colleagues, real professionals, not just like studying Russia and United States, they said the only way, and China, they said the climate crisis is actually may push them together. And then we found this matrix war game is the first contact is actually from U.S. Army team. Americans are looking at an alien invasion. So if 2045, if aliens decided to invade Earth and then they eradicate humanity, they are coming to kill all of us. And is our like the great powers, United States, China, Russia, EU, NATO, etc. Are they going to? Great powers, are they going to cooperate? And then UN, NATO, EU, are they going to play a role better than? We did this with George Washington University students. We did this with 2 times in our workshops. We did this in a separate location all the time that they didn't cooperate. It was very interesting findings for us because although that this is going to be an existential challenge, and then so it's going to be a huge problem. So these are the tools that we use. I talk a little bit our methodology. I talk AI. I talk a little bit about the war game that we develop. Find a few points that how what we learned over time is the first thing is educating your analyst is the most critical element. Is this I think that's why I volunteered to give this session, because it might help to people to better understand, because the analyst needs to understand framing the problem, understand what needs to focus, understand what should be done. So that's the training of analysts is one of the most critical elements. So that's why we send almost all our staff members to University of Houston, and most of them goes to Turku and advanced training and everything else. The second thing is that in this environment, you need to integrate other tools to cope with the data. So what I mean with this is the AI should be part of your process. Artificial intelligence is inevitable. I think it is going to be daily our part of daily life, and it should be our professional life. So without using the up-to-date most advanced AI systems, this is not going to be possible. And I think that's why we sought support from the companies like Google, Microsoft, etc. The third point is the most critical element. If you really wants to make a difference, you need to make sure that your stakeholder analysis is done properly and you have access to leadership. You can produce a paper, you can produce a large report, you can produce a small report, you can get it signed by our leadership. If this is not going to reach the decision makers and it's not going to make any change, it has no value. So the most critical element of strategic foresight, the successful organizations, they have access to leadership. It's the person used to lead the political part of Shell scenario development, a friend of mine, Mr. Cho Kong, and he told me that is the top floor belongs to the leadership of Shell company, like the CEO, blah blah, etc. And the one below down from them was their scenario team. So scenario team was above all other elements of the Shell, like it's 10, 15-story building. So they could have access to the CEO, the group of advisors, and whatever the people are making decisions. And then they actually sought the support from them. So I give like three key elements. That is the training of the foresight analyst, using the supplementary tools, and then access to leadership. So these are the three critical elements. And maybe the fourth one is the creating an ecosystem. It's the you guys work with us development of SAS 154. So we have an ecosystem. So our community of interest is more than 300 people. So we have experts from nations, we have experts from think tanks, academia, industry, etc. So we know who we can get to get something done. So these are the stuff. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to move to the findings of the SFA 2023 and overview shortly the stuff with you. Next slide, please. When this written, actually, mostly the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine has started. But we look at this, what is the most important thing at that time? Yes, the war is there. It's the more important thing. But we put the climate breakdown and loss of biodiversity is one of the key elements that we need to start thinking. And then if you look to SFA 2023, is the main theme was actually is the climate breakdown, climate collapse could be an existential threat to humanity. So that is actually we looked at, and then we said, okay, this needs to be tackled. This is the leadership needs to take action today if they really want to change. And then we look at the resource scarcity, how it's going to affecting our life. We looked at the emerging disruptive technologies, AI, and how this is going to create the changes. We looked at the geoeconomics and how it's going to become a problem with the U.S. administrations and so on. We looked at the human networks, the social element, and then we look at the scramble for global commons, how the Arctic will be important, space, cyberspace, high seas. These are the areas. And then in combination all of this, we said international order in transition. So international order in transition and how this is gonna affect us. Next slide, please. So this is an illustration. When we identify the 6 drivers and then 7 drivers with the evolving security environment, you may see that, okay, this is what I know. But there are so many other trends supporting this driver and with interacting with it. So this is just like to show you that it's not like a study on the surface, but actually there is in-depth analysis in support of the report. Next slide, please. Report came to the conclusion that there are 2 pathways to the future. One is global cooperation. The other one is more pervasive competition. So the world is fragmenting, and then it's created two potential pathways, and then looked at the future that is it will be dominated by pervasive competition. So this is something that we accepted as a kind of baseline. If you go to next slide. In 2025, we take it further, and then we say, what are the scenarios? So we come up with, in the beginning, I talk about the great power relations. We come up with 4 C's. Is the cooperation, collision, conflict, and competition. So cooperation, what does it mean? This means basically United States, China, and Russia coming together. I'm sure your students are familiar with history. There was a meeting between after World War II, leaders of Great Britain, United States, and Soviet Union. Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill. That's at Yalta 1. So these leaders of 3 countries, today Russia, China, and the United States, they cooperate. And then they say, okay, let's work. We are working together. And then, but all other small powers like Europe, etc., will be mercy of the great powers. They will make the world, shape the world, and then they will say, okay, this is how we think. So this is a kind of a bad situation for NATO, bad situation for Europe, and like the middle powers in Europe. The second one is the collusion. Collusion means basically is that Russia and China are coming together, and then they're saying, okay, we cooperate like today. And then it's the United States is more friendly with its allies, and then they are working together. This time you have 2 blocks with the China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, and then US and its allies. So this is like a block relationship, but it's not like the Cold War, because China has a different type of country than the Soviet Union, with trade is their number 1 priority. That is actually a different situation. So the collusion is basically bringing Russia and China together. Today there was a statement from Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs, top diplomat. He said, we can't let Russia lose. So that's something very significant. Competition is, this is basically another dangerous situation, because we see that it's the United States, Russia, and China, they're competing each other, but they are thinking about like America first, China first, Russia first. So this is a kind of situation that we don't want. There is a competition, but it's against small powers, all the others. Hey, I would like to get this country. This area belongs to me. That kind of stuff that is actually, we call it sphere of influence mindset. So that is something going to happen. And finally, the conflict. To be honest with you, I've been writing the SFAs since 2011. I never put the conflict as part of scenario. This time, I thought that we need to include that. We cannot ignore that the potential of conflict between great powers. That's a very dangerous situation. So the scenario that you come up with cannot be just only collusion or conflict or competition. We are living in this, you see the red dotted area. That is the red that I included, like you have collision, at the same time cooperation, you also have competition, and then you have also conflict. Conflict is ongoing in between Russia and Ukraine and other areas, like we are concerned with what's happening in Taiwan or Indo-Pacific region, or what's happening in the Middle East. So we identify like 6 main trends. intensifying great power competition. So we think that they are going to be more edgy against each other. And the rules-based international order, like the multilateral institutions, World Trade Organization, World Health Organization, they are going to weaken further. So, and then the competition for resources is increased. The multilateralism is going to decrease in terms of effectiveness because U.S. is withdrawing its support from multilateral institutions. This is going to affect everybody. And the one other thing is we talk about in declining trust in governance and super empower individuals and multinational corporations influence is increased. So I talk a little bit Elon Musk. We actually been talking about super empower individuals last 10 years. Their effect was their influence was limited, but increased over time. Today we see that Elon Musk is saying that, okay, I'm going to set up the third party. Next slide, please. So we are living in a kind of environment that is the rules-based international order is collapsing. And then we are shifting from unipolarity to multipolarity. Is this mean end of rules-based international order? What does it mean? Rules-based international order survive in one other form. Maybe it changed. There will be multiple orders. One is led by United States and its allies, the other led by China, its partners, and other countries that non-aligned, like Global South. Maybe it's that form. But you will see more limitations to shared systems. What I mean is that the globalization will be backlashing. Globalization will replaced by regionalism, regional approaches, etc. So my daughter lives in Mexico. So just like it's a kind of thing, I see that they moved Mexico because they said Mexico is going to be an important area, important player in the future. This was like 10 years ago. They made this decision. And then now it's, I think they are proven right. In terms of there are some domestic challenges for South America, but they also have huge potentials. So next slide. The conclusion statement that I would like to say, we must stop politics at water edge. So the foresight should be a kind of element that should be presented without bias, without any expectation. And then so you should leave politics to make sure that you have a fair analysis that you could present to your leadership and everything else. So next slide. That concludes the presentation. I hope we have enough time for discussion and I didn't took all your time, and happy to answer the questions from students.
Thank you very much, Mehmet, for your presentation. There are many questions that our students and other audience sent to us. And Jordi and I have shared a document to ask you in order. So, Leopoldo said, do you really believe that the concept of dual technology as promoted by NATO, Diana, is an approach that has been internalized by defense ministries and military companies? Or is it simply a concept designed to make civil society accept a radical shift from the UE Green Deal to EU rearm Europe? What do you think about it?
Very, very good question. I mean, excellent question, and a challenging one. If you look at China is making investment in AI and all other areas, and then drone technology. China is the largest producer, and then China is, in terms of country, following United States, is the largest investor of artificial intelligence. So dual use, the companies developing technologies now are the forefront of development in terms of emerging disruptive technologies, in terms of all other technology areas, that the countries are making more investment in research and development compared to military. In the past, military and governments making investment in certain areas, and then this was the technology developed through military investment in terms of government investment, and then used by industry. This time, now industry is leading edge. So if you don't focus on dual use technologies, then you will be left behind militarily. So that is the advocation of why we have to focus on dual use technologies, because none of the Western governments, excluding United States, could afford that spending money only just only for military purposes, because this will be so costly. I mean, the efficiency is there. In regards to Green Deal, energy transition, etc., it's as I put it there, is the climate is still a concern. Is this now nobody from NATO is not like a player in the climate-related areas, but we have a climate expert. Actually, she's sitting next to me, and then she's writing like the climate part of our new report, and it's we're just focusing on how this is going to affect. And green transition is kind of a national issue. Is the nations needs to decide and prioritize, like the defense. Defense is also a kind of defense spending national issue. And then you guys know the Spain's position regarding the latest investment call during the NATO summit. So in summary, if you don't invest dual use technologies, if companies doesn't invest, so you will be losing edge in terms of technology leadership globally. That has huge consequences in terms of defense and security.
We have another question from the audience. Sylvia is asking, precisely at this time when we have so much information, is there any methodology or technique unique in strategic foresight that allow us to understand and separate the key data?
Okay. Yeah, large data analysis is a problem. It's a challenge. So that's why we use two different platforms. One is the Futures platform. The other one is Preempt. So that's what we try to use. Our tools developed with Google and Microsoft, they are in dormant situation, but we will incorporate large language models to make sure that we try to analyze large data sets. There's no easy solution. It's the way that in the past we used to put them in an Excel and then try to look keywords and then look into the keywords and then say, okay, these are the keywords and these are the etc. This is most common. And then so I think this is going to be an area, or we try to identify the change. This time is over. I mean, it's the AI is here, and then we have not developed our own tools, but I'm sure the large data analysis is basically is the key element. Yes.
Can I make a follow-up question? Because I like very much your initial point about knowing is not exactly like understanding. And I'm curious about if, for instance, the Google Strategic Foresight tool, how much is it helping regarding understanding?
Okay. Google tool has similar capabilities like ChatGPT. It was just like giving you a sentiment or kind of summary. instead of you trying to read like 70-page report, and then based on your query, as today you call it prompt, and then just like it's you are getting a kind of input, but at the end of the day, human intuition is the key. So that's why you need to train your analysts. Human intuition is the key, and then it's you need to allow human to get this key element from the capture the insight from the data set. So that's yeah, good question.
So in continuing a follow-up question about that, because I'm very interested in that, and it's some topic that students, analysts ask us over and over again. Do you think AI is gonna reduce the number of analysts that organizations use, or the opposite side? You think now we need more analysts and less people processing the data?
There are three sides. I mean, I didn't go into too much detail. When you have so much data, you need to sanitize the data, because there is so much misinformation in the data. So you need to make sure that you have a reliable data. So you need to input data. It's not like an easy task. We try to use automation. We try to use all of this. We try to use AI to sanitize data and everything else. That's not going to happen easily. And then you still need the data. The size of data is exponentially increasing. So whether you use AI or not, it's the unit human analyst. And I think that the role of human analyst is not going to decrease. It's going to increase. And then, but one thing sure, that is for your students, basically, they need to understand. The analysts will be divided into two groups. The one using AI, the one not using AI. And then the one using AI, and then the flexible and more open to discussion, they will be keeping their jobs, and then they will have an open future. The ones that saying that, oh, okay, I read this and so on, this is in the past. This is history.
Okay. Thank you, Mehmet. One other question. Some of our students are directors of private companies and public institutions. What key steps and best practices would you recommend to an organization that aims to institutionalize strategic foresight analysis in its decision-making processes?
Yep, that's very good. Very good. The first thing I would say is that you need to create a foresight culture. You need to create a foresight culture so that everybody in the organization needs to understand without using foresight, they will be a normal traditional company. And then it's just like the JP Morgan, Chase. I mean, they are using foresight. Moody's, they're using foresight. And it is today, JP Morgan, Chase's CEO was on TV that says United States should buy weapons and rare earths, focus on rare earths, etc., not bitcoins. It should be stockpiling and everything else. So this gentleman sees something like for the future and making so it's your top CEO should have an understanding of, hey, this is what we need to do. And then you need to have proper training, you need to have proper staff members, and you need to have proper structures to make sure that the foresight institutionalize in the company or organization. Without all this, it will be half-cooked meal. You know, it's just like if CEO is not buying, you're just dead in water. If a CEO is buying, and then so it just is, this is not very effective. So there should be a whole ecosystem should be created in the company. Shell is done it amazingly. Shell is done it for amazing. I mean, there are so many companies, there's so many governments. I mean, Spanish government, they actually come up with a 2050 strategic foresight report as your prime minister personally introduced it a few years ago. This is something that is, so if the culture is there, so the leadership is there, and then so you need to look into how you implement, because I haven't mentioned that we work with Singapore. Singapore is the golden standard for strategic foresight. Well, I've been working, communicating with them, working together since 2010. I mean, we met them in Atlantic Council, and just like a few years later, when we were tasked in 2011, hey, you need to do foresight, I called them, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then they actually help us a little bit to increase our understanding. So when they would like to, an investment, when they would like to make a decision on certain issues, they always study that. They identify the problem, they look at the trends, they make an assessment, and then they come back and then push it to the future. So that's a good example that I can give in terms of governments.
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned Singapore, because earlier today I had a video conference with the people from the Center for Strategic Futures in Singapore. So
yeah,
really a remarkable center.
Yeah, and then it's they were with us. We had I mean, last two conferences, we were in Canada. They were with us in Reykjavik and so on. It's like they travel wherever we go, and then they are happy to join and contribute, because they're also trying to understand our point of view. So it's the foresight requires bringing together different points of view. Otherwise, you will be just looking into from your chair, and then this doesn't make sense. Anyway.
Okay, let me try to squeeze some questions from the audience. There's one that has some questions about the war in Ukraine. Jose is asking if you think it's finishing anytime soon. What do you think could be the future of the war, or even if China will have a more important role in it? And very connected, Francisco also asked you if you believe that a Cold War is coming. Tough question.
Okay. It's you cannot call it a Cold War, but it's just like a similar thing. That's a possibility in our collision scenario that I mentioned. In regards to Russia-Ukraine war, Russia-Ukraine war is actually, some people say it started in 2014. I studied Russia-European energy relations and actually German dependency on Russia in terms of energy, so how it's create vulnerabilities. It's when the Cold War ended and the Soviet Union collapsed, and Russia had the gas and Ukraine had the transit. So all pipelines going through Ukraine. And what happened is immediately Russia started developing projects, Nord Stream, Blue Stream, and South Stream, etc., to circumvent Ukraine, because they wanted to have Ukraine under their sphere of influence. So we can say that it's the war even, I mean, there might be a ceasefire, but the competition will continue. I mean, it's under Russia would like to have Ukraine is under sphere of influence. Ukraine wants to be a free country, and then so this competition will continue.
Okay, thank you very much.
One interesting question is about technology. We don't have much time to talk about all the questions, so maybe 2 or 3 more, and we will finish, and we will invite you again, Mehmet, if you want,
Sure.
to another session. But one about technology. You have talked about technology in your presentation as a game changer. Technology is undoubtedly a game changer in our current post-normal times that Jordi always explain in our master degree. Disruptive innovations amplify scope, speed, scale, and simultaneity, yet also magnify complexity, chaos, and contradiction, as the post-normal theory, times theory explains, no? which emerging technologies do you consider essential to monitor because they will have the greatest impact on the future scenarios?
Yeah, we look at the, the first one is AI, of course. It's the AI convergent with biotechnology. Like, for example, it's the convergent with biotechnology. And the other critical areas, that is all the technologies with the space exploration. It's you can think about the hypersonic systems and everything else, but also space exploration and everything else. As I said, is a convergence of this together. Though it was on the news, a couple was trying to have a baby for 18 years, and with AI help, they actually had a baby. Because AI is going to have the development of maybe the best solution, pharmaceutical solution to their problems. So we look at all of these. We also look at the other aspects of the technology. For example, can we trust AI? Like the humanity is trusting AI more than it used to be. It's in 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, we have less concern. Yesterday, I watched Boston Dynamics participated. America got like the star competition. Simon Wells run it. The robots were on the screen and then competing for the America Got Talent. So this was for me, hey, what's happening here? The robots, like the 5 robots, they're dancing on the screen, but these same robots could be used militarily. So that is something crazy. So the thing is the size, miniaturization, the battery technologies, for example. It's all of this is changing because of convergence of technologies. So yeah, I hope that answered the questions, and I'm just trying to be short as much as possible.
Sure, the future is exciting, but we have to finish here, Mehmet, Jordi.
Yep.
So we hope today's masterclass has offered valuable insights into the role and relevance of strategic foresight analysis as professional discipline. As Dr. Mehmet Kinaki highlighted, in these post-normal times we are living, it's essential for both analysts and decision makers to develop the capacity to navigate and lead through chaos, and also to have this culture, organizational culture, in our public institution and also in our private companies to make this possible. For those of you drawn to the world of foresight and strategy, mastering these disciplines becomes increasingly vital the closer you are or aspire to be to strategic leadership roles in public institutions or private organizations. Dr. Kinatsi, it's a pleasure to having here at LISA Institute. On behalf of the entire team at LISA Institute and all our audience, thank you sincerely for sharing your deep knowledge and practical experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Jordi, Daniel, we work together. Thank you very much. All the Daniels, your team, and all other participants joining us, listening me today. And I hope that this session could be useful for you to get some insights on the foresight. This is something that is going to be more and more relevant for the future. Thank you very much. You guys have a great day, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye to everyone.
Thank you. Out here. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Muchas gracias, yeah?
Gracias, Mehmet.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Thank you.